Yo, so now that the chapter of all chapters of Lore Piece has been released, I think it has been really fun to go back into the story and look at stuff that we can now see under a new light. So of course, for me, it meant taking another look at Binks Sake, because that's just something that I do from time to time. I promise I'm not weird. Anyways, there was some cool stuff that I thought that I could point out from my reread of Binks Sake. Beyond the obvious fact that the song references the idea of the ideal pirate, seeking for adventure and everything like that, it also appears that the link that ties this song and the ancient kingdom is stronger than ever. The first part that got my attention was, "Now comes a storm through the far off sky, now the waves are dancing, beat upon the drums. If you lose your nerve, this breath could be your last, but if you hold on, the morning sun will rise." Beat upon the drums and the morning sun will rise are obvious, and everyone has probably known about that for a long time, but the mention of a storm and waves could potentially be interpreted as the impact of the sea god, who is one of the many gods mentioned in the Harley text. The line of the Harley text that I am referring to says that the sea god storm at the end of the second world. Also, the mention of a breath in both that verse and the beginning of the second world could be interesting, but I don't know how much of a real connection could be made there. I guess I would need to look at the original Japanese to see if there's a link. The second part that got my attention was the last couple of verses. "Going to deliver Binks Sake, today and tomorrow, our dreams through the night, waving our goodbyes, we'll never meet again. But don't look so down, for tomorrow night, the moon will also rise. Going to deliver Binks Sake, let's all sing with a dawn, a song of the waves. Doesn't matter who you are, someday you'll just be bones. Never ending, ever wandering, or funny traveling tale." So let's go line by line. "Today and tomorrow are dreams through the night, but don't look so down, for tomorrow night the moon will also rise," to me seems like an evident parallel to the Will of D, or more accurately the dreams of the people of the moon and the half moon, as mentioned in the Harley text. So that even though Joy Boy, who represent the sun god, lost, they dream that they will get another chance at fighting for their freedom, even if it's like 800 or 900 years later. "Waving our goodbyes, we'll never meet again." I don't know how much this line resembles the Harley text in the original Japanese, but to me this was the most jaw-dropping line to read post 1138. And doesn't matter who you are, I didn't think much of this line initially, but then I remembered the fact that Joy Boy rallying every race against Imu is actually kind of a big deal, so much so that Ripley literally doesn't even believe it to be possible. In the current world of One Piece, prejudice and xenophobia are kind of a big deal, so what Joy Boy did and what Luffy is currently doing right now is really important. It doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, or where you come from, and that's a pretty cool message from One Piece. And finally, our funny traveling tale doesn't need any justification. Through all of this, I am now 100% convinced that the Song of Binks Sake is like a poetic representation of the second world of One Piece, and thus the story of Joy Boy and the Ancient Kingdom. We do know that Binks Sake is a very old pirate shanty, and that Joy Boy was the first pirate according to Vegapunk, so I think it really fits. We could then maybe say that Binks was either the real name of Joy Boy, since we know that Joy Boy and the myth of Nika is really connected with the idea of music, or Binks could have been a friend of Joy Boy or just some random person chronicling the adventures of Joy Boy. I say all of this because now I've developed a pretty cool idea thanks to my analysis of the mural and the song, and that is whales. I'm guessing a lot of you were wondering where I got the title for my theory, so there it is. A lot of people have noticed that whales in One Piece have like a symbolic meaning. It's mostly that they are indicative of the way to go and are also a representation of like important steps of the Straw Hat's journey to the One Piece. But now I think it goes even beyond that. The main idea that I'm putting forward here is that maybe Laboon and the other island whales are not just fans of Binks Sake because it sounds good, but also maybe because they feel somewhat of a deep ancestral connection to the song and its meaning. Okay, I know what you might be thinking right now, like what is this guy even talking about? But hear me out for a second. First of all, we know that Laboon is not the only whale hitting himself on the red line in the hopes of breaking it. It seems that every whale has this deep desire to see the red line fall, that unnatural and probably artificial monstrosity that potentially prevents them from ever meeting again. Perhaps with other members of their pods, for example. Also, we learn from the Sea Kings that the whales were very happy about the imminent birth of Shirahoshi and the second sovereign, whoever it may be, which is a oddly specific thing that the only two sea creatures who seem to think about that are the Sea Kings, who are, some of the strongest creatures in the world, potentially even capable of destroying it, and also whales. This seems to imply that the whales know the significance of Poseidon and probably Joy Boy or whatever, something like that, I don't know. And furthermore, the fact that Neptune, the king of the fishmen, is the only fish person capable of controlling whales also adds like another layer of significance to them. They really seem to have surprisingly a lot in common with the Sea Kings, who we know have a huge purpose in the fight against Imu. So if we go along with the potential idea that Joy Boy was Binks, maybe his music serves as a connection to the past, and that is why the whales enjoy it so much. Kind of how Zunisha seemed happy about the fact that they could hear the beat of Joy Boy's drum when Luffy awakened. But even if that's not the case, and if we consider the fact that the mural showcases a whale fighting alongside the Sun God and the other races in the fight against Imu, I think it could make a lot of sense in a Eiichiro Oda kind of way if the whales passed on the will of Joy Boy, the Ancient Kingdom, and the Half Moon people through the generations without the help of poneglyphs. Kind of like how the Sea Kings and Zunisha have been able to do so, even though Zunisha is kind of cheating with the whole living forever thing. Also, speaking of poneglyphs and Zunisha, it is an interesting connection that one of the road poneglyphs, one of the most important things in the search for One Piece and the fate of the world, can be found inside of the whale tree. Who looks somewhat similar to the whale of the mural, I don't know. You can be the judge of that, I guess. Well, all of this was to say that whales are not only symbols, they seem to also be as every bit as important to the overarching history of the One Piece world as any other creature fighting for the dawn. Their inclusion on the mural is not random.